Oh, his camera is dying. The heat on this phone. Yeah, cool day today. Just really chill, really nice. Difficult to explain, actually. There's something where this is an objective truth, I feel. I think it's ingrained in it's genetically ingrained within us. I feel like you always have more of an association, that kind of connection is the word I'm looking for, with people of your own culture and race. That's to be expected. If you took culture out of the equation, for example, and you placed, let's say, 40 different nationalities where each nationality was represented by the same sex, height, characteristics were all identical, but of course, one of those was a mirror of your own culture, you would be more likely, in fact, it would be an absolute that you would get along more with them. You'd have more in common, more in touch, right? And then if you express that example tenfold, for example, you might not actually get along with someone from your culture. You might have a lot of shared values naturally, more so than any of the other 39 cultures, but you still might not get along with them. But naturally, I feel like if you then relayed that example over and over again with the 40 different nationalities, one of which is yours, on average, you're going to be more inclined to gravitate towards someone that's your own culture when all the variables are the same, of course. That's just a sort of, perhaps long-winded way of saying you're more in touch with what you are and what you know. And I just always have had this really nice, warm feeling when I am in Eastern European countries, or Slavic countries is really the best example. And again, it's not just the race, but that for sure plays a part. I feel like you're naturally more inclined to people that share your culture, or the culture that you like. Because of course, Slavic culture isn't technically my culture. Well, maybe genetically. But then, of course, when you add the racial distinction in, I think it just heightens that. If you have a Kazakh or a Kyrgyz, and for people that don't know, I've lived in those countries for years and years and years and years and years. And I've always loved them. And likewise, I've always loved places like Belarus, and I lived in Poland. And again, just countries with a Slavic culture, but ethnically, racially, there is obviously variation there. But yeah, anyway, I was in Samay today, and the moment I arrived, I just knew I was going to like it. I just knew it. It's always been somewhere I've wanted to go, not Samay, but East Kazakhstan, even though technically this isn't East Kazakhstan. I'm right on the fringe in, I think, Abay region. I just always knew I would like it because my favourite place was Karakol in Issyk, Kyrgyzstan. But unfortunately, because of its accessibility, it has a lot of beauty. They've just decided to ruin it. Just exactly the same thing humans always do. Just the greed. You have something that is given to you. You've got a perfect lifeline for your family and the families of everyone in the community indefinitely if you just do it right. And what do they do in Karakol? They have this beautiful little single-story town, all these little quaint dakas, mountains looking over, and of course corruption kicks in. The rich fucks come along and start building tower blocks, taking out the mountain view, demolishing all the ancient 19th century buildings, and they're still doing it as we talk, and soon there'll be nothing left, and it'll just be a dump town like everywhere else. But in this region, because it's very, very off the beaten track here in Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan's so vast, people sort of get distracted by other things in the country, and it's more Russian. So most tourists don't come to Kazakhstan for sort of Russian or Slavic culture. They sort of gravitate towards the more Kazakh-y things, if there really are any super Kazakh things, I mean, because it's very, very mixed and intertwined. But anyway, I was in Samay. I'm digressing massively. Yeah, I had just a really cool day today. Just went and got my hair cut. Thought I was going to get scammed. It was so great. I got scammed on my last haircut. It was the worst haircut, second worst haircut I've ever had. The first one being when he shaved all my hair off in Vietnam. But yeah, I go in, and before I can even open my mouth, this woman just takes me by the hand and just starts washing my hair. I swear it was that quick. She just just starts washing my hair. And usually things like that are a red flag. You're like, you're thinking, well, once they reel you in, then they can sort of dictate the price. You've already started the ride, do you know what I mean? It's like getting in a taxi. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, she literally dropped the spray can like on the floor 3 times back to back, and then she dropped the scissors, and I was like, oh fuck, this is not even a professional hairdresser. I'm gonna get my hair fucked up again. And there's a guy sat behind me waiting, which turns into the second part of the story actually. And he speaks a little bit of English, and like I tell everyone I'm from Poland, right? Because I look Polish. No one speaks Polish. It's nothing like Russian, and it's associated with the Soviet Union. So people think Poland's still like part of the Soviet Union. Therefore, poor. You're sort of on the same page generally, so you don't get scammed as much. But yeah, like she kept asking. She literally like in my face starts doing this haircut, money, 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 like literally like that, like in the rudest way ever. I was like, oh my god, like what the fuck? She's like, money, money. I should also point out she was a Russian Kazakh. I was like, oh god. In my mind, I was thinking, fuck, I'm gonna get scammed. Like, what's the base that I'm willing to go over before I start giving over the price? I was like 5,000, which is like $10, because this is not this is not a fancy barber. This is not a high street barber. This is like a back shop, super local, like estate place. The guy behind me said the price is 3,000, right? But I don't. That wasn't with a conversation like with her. I just asked him, and that's what he said. It's like 3K. And he seemed very honest. So I was like, okay, 3K. But if she says 5, I'm just going to pay the 5. I can't deal with the stress of arguing over £3. So anyway, yeah, she does my hair, and it just doesn't seem like she knows like really what she's doing. It actually turned out all right, to be fair, but she just didn't know what she was doing. She was basically like a mother, just like in there for a bit of extra income. And I was just thinking like, oh god, the conversation about the money is still going on between. She's like telling him to grill me on like how much would I pay in Poland, right? And I, in my mind, because I've already like seen her do that in my face, I'm thinking, well, you know, if I say the realistic price, you know, that's what she's gonna charge me. It's gonna be like that situation, basically. It's fucking ants on me. And so I sort of evaded this question for like 20 minutes. The hair finishes. She ends up blowing my hair for like a solid 3 or 4 minutes. It was really weird. And I was thinking, well, she's like debating in her mind if she can now fuck me over or not, because other people have arrived and they're like sat right behind me. So it's like, can you really fuck someone over that much? And there's, I guess, the moral dilemma. I genuinely think to this point now, maybe she was debating over that. And then she starts like taking pictures of my hair, like it's like the best thing she's ever done. Maybe she was thinking of a tip. I don't know. And then she said, yeah, 3,000. So I just paid her 3,000. And then I sort of felt bad in my mind, like maybe I'm, you know, suspicious too much of these things, but I don't think so. I think I gauged it pretty well. And the guy scammed me the haircut before here in Kazakhstan, like straight up scammed me, and it was like really obvious as well. So anyway, as I walk out of the store, the guy, which is really weird because he must have had his haircut so quickly because he went in like 5 minutes before I finished, which I didn't think of until just then, follows me out, and then he starts talking to me in English. And this is really interesting. If you're at this point in the video, this is legit an interesting piece of trivia. Super interesting, so stay on it. He starts following me, and then he asks me, like, do I want to get ice cream with him? Which actually sounds a bit gay, but I was like, yeah, all right, I'll have ice cream. And I was sort of getting a bit, like, red flags for him. He looked a bit like a gay guy, in a way. He didn't sound, but, you know, like, slightly autistic, a little bit socially awkward, sort of, yeah. I said, yeah, okay, I'll get ice cream. And it's Kazakhstan, so if someone offers you, it's sort of their treat. So he treated me, even though I said I could pay. And I'm pretty sure that guy ripped him off as well. That was such an expensive cone. He got like a cone of ice cream, and it was like the same price as the UK. I watched how much he paid for both, like tiny cones. It was like 1,400, which is like £1.20 a cone. It's really expensive. And it turns out he's a fireman, right? The guy's like 38. Like, he literally looks about 25. He's done 20 years in the fire service. And the way it works, and this is the interesting fact, in Kazakhstan for public services, right, and I assume this is the case in some other Soviet countries as well, for every 10 years you do, you get another, what was it? 15 days of holiday a year. and it mounts. So he said, yeah. Is it that? So he said he started on 15 days, actually. And then he said, having done now 20 years, he now gets 50, 50, that was it, days of holiday. And I really did reiterate numerous times, like, you mean 50, 50, not 15. He's like, no, I started when I was 18, fire service, 15 days of holiday, that's all we get. And then to encourage you to stay in the profession as long as possible, which is just a great incentive, because then at the end you're left with all these people with super high levels of experience that haven't transferred to get this holiday extension. You get 50 days after 20 years of service, 50 days paid holiday a year, 50, 50. And this was the second day of his 50 days holiday this year. And yeah, then he was like, oh man, like, we should go out later or whatever. And I was sort of thinking, oh, I don't know, like, I don't want to go out with this dude, he could be gay. So I sort of like went and did my own things. I had my plan of stuff to do, plan of things to do anyway. But he insisted, like, where are you going next? I was like, there's a Dostoevsky museum. Actually, Dostoevsky used to live here, which I had no idea about. I'm actually going to do the trivia Google search in a second, because it was all in Russian in the exhibition. And so he's like, oh no, I'll just call my mate. I'll just drive you there. If it's like a 20-minute walk, I don't know, we'll drive you. Calls his mate, who's a police officer, also has done the 20 years. He's got 50 days holiday a year for doing 20 years service in the police force. Again, looks like 25. Drives up, picks me up. They speed way over the limit. Police officer and fireman in the car to the Dostoevsky Museum. And then they drop me off. And the guy like insists on taking my number. It was actually really socially awkward and weird. And I gave him my number, and then he texted me like a few hours later. He's like, oh, I'm taking my kids on a boat cruise. There's space if you want. I can pick you up and you can join. And I've had this so many times in Kazakhstan, actually the world, to be fair, where, and I still honestly think I'm right, because the world is full of weirdos, I promise you that. You come across a lot of very weird dudes, and in these cultures you have to remember, and I had the exact same thing in China, and a guy was there literally with his kid, and he was full on like gay, right? And I met his wife as well. Like, I'm there speaking to his wife in this coffee shop, who he's the owner of, and his kid's there, and this dude was like full on bang for the other team. Like we're talking full on camp. So, in these cultures, because it's so unaccepted, you do find a lot of dudes have wives. Like the families set them up with partners when they were younger, and the kid is sort of like a defense or against like suspicion, or and to appease the family. So yeah, in my opinion, certain people look definitely like they're playing on the other team. So yeah, I just politely said, oh, that's very nice of you, like I would if I could, I've got things to do, etc. And I could just be wrong. It could just be where he's picked up English from, like the way he pronounces it. Maybe the teacher was banging for the other team, or maybe he's just socially awkward or autistic or whatever. But yeah, who knows. Either way, super nice, friendly. After that, wandered around to all these places, and Samay is just like sort of my dream place. Let me take that back. It has aspects that are in my sort of dreams, things that I love. My favourite things from travelling, actually, which mostly were all within the former Soviet Union. I really love those wooden cabins, those dakas. And again, if you haven't really been to this region, because you won't see them as much in Europe because of the conflicts and just modernism, you'll find in a lot of rural Russia, I assume, for sure. I've seen many videos, and I've been to Russia when I was younger, but just online you can just see loads of abandoned towns and villages, and you still see that in a lot of Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. But mainly in Kazakhstan, you just have all these old wooden lodges, like old, just little wooden dakas, they're called, or dachas. And I love them, man. They're literally just log on log, like old school, full on cabins. Dostoevsky's original one is still there. I think in Petrograd or St. Petersburg, they still have, was it Lenin's? Maybe Lenin's, or some famous Russian politician's cabin preserved. It might even be the founder. It might be Peter the Great, or whoever founded Leningrad. Either way, one of them's preserved in Leningrad. I just love that. I really love those, that architecture. It just feels so homely and like Slavic and mountainous. I just love it. And of course, they're destroying the ones in Semey, just like Kyrgyzstan, which is to be expected. But yeah, I had a wander around the city and it's authentic. It's authentic. And I posted a little video up. You feel safe. There's no Arabs mingling or Africans mingling or people that are just there to basically, sell drugs or rob you or this kind of stuff. You just don't find that in these sorts of Soviet countries because there isn't really, a strong economy here. So there's no encouragement for people to come over and just milk the system like there is in Europe. And again, you don't have the political system where those people who are either organically going to Europe or unorganically being shipped and trafficked to Europe by the Judaic orders who are intent on completely crippling the Caucasian race. I think that's pretty much obvious for anyone that has at least a brain cell with respect to what has been happening since the turn of the century at the very least. The classic order through chaos, divide and conquer, up and down, 2 steps forward, 1 step back scenario. We have a system that is just a routine, globally speaking, of pumping and dumping. You build up a culture, you wait until you've maxed your profit, you've utilised it to its maximum capacity, and then you profit from its demise, quite literally, by shaking up what was formerly just, the prowess, economically speaking, of the world, and then, filtering that into another part of the world and creating what you had already created in the former for the future in the latter. And that's what we see. So, there's this constant transition of power between geographical points, mainly based on race and religion as well. But right now, the West is being deconstructed, or the Caucasian prowess is being violently deconstructed, as we see everywhere. So you just come here, it's just a breath of fresh air to just be around a similar culture, and you just can walk anywhere. Like, it's not like the most modern place. Things, are old and they don't function as you'd see in, Bern or Zurich or Paris or London or wherever. But, it's a real homogenous culture. People are just living their lives. No one's on TikTok as much with these fucking phones. People aren't indoctrinated by this sick sort of societal politics of LGBT flags everywhere, and you're a lefty, you're right, all this stuff. It's just so refreshing, which is why I wanted to go to Russia. That's why I wanted to move to Russia, and it's still on my list of things to do. These people are real, and when you see people in the UK or many people in many European countries now, I look at them like they're absolute dirt, especially the UK and the United States and Australia, New Zealand and Canada. These people are so indoctrinated. The coming generations are just absolutely sickening to me. And yeah, it was just so refreshing here. Public parks everywhere, super quiet, and got back to my hotel. I had to arrange transport to my next town tomorrow, and I went to the bus station. There are no buses. Went to the train station. There are no trains. There are always shared taxis, but sort of wanted something organised, and she just organised it for me. She's just so nice, so lovely, and I just felt nice to be around nice people, Anyway, bit of positive energy there. It was really, really good. I'm going now to a even more authentic sort of Slavic town within Kazakhstan, because I'm right on the Russian border, literally like 40 kilometers away. And yeah, just there for a night in a nice. I like this hotel. This is my kind of hotel. This sort of £12 a night. I think they've even thrown in breakfast for me for free, but I haven't gone either the first day or this morning. Maybe I'll pop in tomorrow morning, maybe. But yeah, this is my sort of hotel. This sort of vibe. But yeah, tomorrow I'm in a nicer hotel, and then to another good hotel, a Soviet one in Oskamen. And yeah, I just know it's going to get better. I've already seen the pictures. I've spoilt myself a little bit by ruining this prize, but I've looked at one of the small towns in the Altai that I'll be going through. it is a bit like Caracol probably was when I was there, like several years ago before tourists ruined it. So it's gonna be good. And 20 minutes, wow, crazy, mad. I'll leave it there.